Good morning, everyone. This morning, I'm Rishi Brandon Stafford, by the way. This morning, I wanted to talk about non-dualism in a very simple way, hopefully, that can explain it and maybe break through a little bit of resistance um, that we get when we try and explain Advaita Vedanta, which so let me get into it. I'll put it like that. All right. So I'm going to use something that's a little bit less personal in the example that I use, but us as people, when I say a statement as there's no such thing as good and bad, right or wrong, right? Especially with the spiritual communities, right? When you're on a certain level and a certain perception of consciousness, that really doesn't set well with you because you're becoming more awake, you're becoming more aware, you're seeing more things, more, potential falsehoods and things like that you didn't before. And you get a little bit upset, about a lot of these things. And that can also become a pitfall for us in our practice. We can get stuck in that anger stage, right? So this is that next step when we realize there is no such thing as good and bad. If we follow the rules of bhakti, the very first rule is that we believe that we are a non-physical, eternal entity that was created by an all-loving, all-knowing, all-powerful entity. So with this situation going, what does that mean? If you have those things, everything's perfect all the time, right? So true faith, true devotion, which all paths lead to eventually at the highest level of understanding. It leads to complete surrender, complete devotion, all of these things to whatever it is that you call God source, right? But when I say things like there's no such thing as right or wrong, it triggers a lot of people because that's sensitive. So I'm going to use an example that's, like I said, a little less personal, maybe. So I'm going to use a fly and honey, a fly and a bee, for instance. So there's a meme that says a bee doesn't waste its time explaining to a fly why honey is better than shit, right? So when we really go into that, when we really go into it, what do we see? Well, we could judge the fly. That's how the meme, initially is intended from that lower perspective. But you can go a little bit deeper and really analyze what can we pull from that. Well, are flies better than bees? Bees better than flies? Well, bees populate the world. We could say that, right? They allow us to have flowers. They pollinate, etc. So then we're able to have vegetables. We're able to have growth. So these are all great things, right? But the fly also, it breaks down dead things. Their larva literally breaks down things that need to decompose, all of these. So they both serve great purposes, right? Now, what the difference is why wouldn't the bee want to explain that to the fly? Well, because if the fly wanted honey, the fly would have incarnated as a bee. If the fly needed the honey lesson, right? If the bee needed the shit lesson, the bee would have incarnated as a fly, right? And this is kind of the same thing. What matters is where you're completely happy. A fly is completely happy sitting on shit. That's appropriate then. A bee is completely happy with the honey. Then that's appropriate. You know what I mean? So that's why I like to use the phrase appropriate or inappropriate. It allows us to use discernment for what's good for us, but at the same time, not having judgment for anything else. And at the same time, also realizing that everything's part of this one whole system. So everything is one, it's not two. And we live in that illusion of two all the time, so it makes it hard. I get it. Dualism is the material. That is the paradox we must transcend. But when we get to the other side, what we see that there is nothing to judge. It's just that individual or that thing or that creature or that whatever it might be, depending on where you are in the multiverse, it is okay doing whatever it's doing in its vibration. Now, does that mean you have to let everything happen to you? No, because it might not be appropriate for your vibration, right? That's the importance of boundary setting, all kinds of stuff. So if it's not appropriate for your vibration, then find out what is appropriate for your vibration. The hang up is don't get attached to things that aren't in vibration with you anymore. That's where we create a lot of suffering for ourselves. That's where civilization creates more uncivilized people and more mental health issues than ever before. Because the more that we restrict that, the more that we start to judge everything and ourselves, the less we can grow. All right, everybody. I hope that this example helps. If you want to schedule a session with me, tarot, breathwork, meditation, yoga, Tibetan sound healing, prana healing, anything like that, send me a message. I'd be more than happy to get you scheduled. Have a great day on purpose and stay mindful, everyone. Namaskaram.